to EVTN News, your source for all the information in the Catholic world. Not really, but we do try to bring you the best news and the most interesting news. And so we're going to start right off with Vigano. I missed this article from a few weeks ago, and he talks about priests celebrating Mass in the Old Rite. He talks about the Numoda Proprio, and I'm just going to read you a quote from that. So Vigano says the response to any limitation or prohibition of the celebration of the traditional Mass must obviously take into account both the objective elements and the different situations. If a priest has an ordinary, which is a bishop, a sworn enemy of the ancient rite who has no qualms about suspending him a divinis, if he were to celebrate the Tridentine Mass, public disobedience could be a way to make the abuse of the ordinary clear, especially if news is spread by the media. The prelates are very afraid of media coverage about their actions, and sometimes they prefer to refrain from canonical measures just to avoid ending up in the newspapers. A priest must therefore consider whether his action will be more effective with a fair and direct confrontation or by acting with discretion or in hiding. In my opinion, the first option is the most linear and transparent and the one that responds most to the behavior of the saints to which we must comply. So this is a very interesting statement by Archbishop Vigano. He's telling all of the priests whose bishops are hostile to the Latin Mass, just say the Latin Mass. Just say it publicly. And that's, he says public disobedience. That's not an act of disobedience. It's your right as a priest. It's your right to say the Latin Mass. So Archbishop Vigano says priests say the Latin Mass no matter what. Put the ball in your bishop's court. See what he does, and if he suspends you, you have recourse. And Archbishop Vigano supports you. So we're moving on. Let's go to summer camp. There was a Jesuit-run eco summer camp. How does that sound? Fun and exciting? I didn't go camping this summer. I go camping occasionally in the summers, not very many times, but I do enjoy the outdoors, as many of you know. And but an eco summer camp does not sound very exciting to me. So 40 young adults participated between the ages of 18 and 35. They participated in a program that was held from August 22nd to 28th in the LaSalle Haus in Switzerland. So it sounds like a nice place, Switzerland. But let's see here. Experts and scholars, animated sessions aimed at broadening the horizons of the participants and strengthening an international network of young people who contribute to a true change in environmental issues. The Jesuit running the summer camp said it provides the opportunity for young adults from all over the world to connect on a deeper level, to feel the interconnection with the rest of the world, but also to foster feeling that moves us towards a more fraternal world. What does that sound like? Freemasonry, paganism? It doesn't sound Catholic. Where's the salvation of souls here? Oh, he does reference Christians. So he says we have to realize that we are all in the same boat and we share the same short moments of life. We have to take the responsibility together to face the challenges of future generations, and we have to feel interconnected, he says, stressing there is no Christian or non-believer solution to these challenges. I don't know. That kind of sounds like he's some kind of shaman, um, like presiding over this pagan worship of the earth. He says to combat this great challenge to humankind, we have to find a common ground in spite of our differences in religion, political leanings, and philosophy. So this apparently this eco-theology transcends the Catholic faith. Yeah. So the Jesuits are completely nuts. Who would have wanted to participate in this? Certainly not Catholics, right? It doesn't sound like it. All right. Syro-Malabar Rite requires ad orientem liturgy, so they decided to implement a uniform celebration of a liturgy in which the celebrant will stand both facing toward and away from the congregation at different times, following lengthy discussions during the synod of its bishops. So this was something that I talked about a while back, and I don't really know um, the whole church history of the Syro-Malabar Rite, but it seems to me like this is the more reverent celebration of their liturgy. This would indicate, or this would differ from their facing the people the entire time. I think they had like a Novus Ordo version of their rite, and so this makes the uniform celebration of the liturgy uh, more reverent, in my opinion. And I think this was the traditional form, so good for them. If that's the case, I think Pope Francis supported that, which is very interesting. I would think that he would certainly support a more modernist uh, interpretation, but he doesn't. He supported this way to celebrate the liturgy, and seems like it's a good thing for that rite. Moving to Tanzania, uh, the Archbishop of Dar es Salaam, his name is Jude Thaddeus Ruwai Chi. In Tanzania, he he said those who oppose the jab are malicious, and he required all priests to be jabbed. So this comes after the president of Tanzania was assassinated. He was an antivirus president, and now the bishop is preaching the gospel of the virus. So sad to see from African bishop who generally people think they're good, and not always. Okay, Bishop Paprocki had some things to say about the state jab mandates. So I'm going to read some quotes here, and I thought this was pretty good. He did say, let's see here. He said that the jab was not a good like it shouldn't be required. I think he kind of used some of the Francis speak on a lot of this stuff, but he also said some things about wearing those. He said, noting that some people may be excused from wearing this for medical reasons, no one is to be excluded from attending Mass for not wearing those things. The obligation to attend Holy Mass on Sundays and holy days of obligation is paramount, since eternal life is the most important consideration. Well, there you go. And you're hearing it from a bishop. That's pretty good. Also, since the sanctuary of the church is not a public place, in that people are not free to walk through the sanctuary area where the altar, ambo, and the tabernacle are located, priests, deacons, and lectors are not expected to wear those things while fulfilling their functions at Mass, since this would interfere with their public speaking and the performance of their liturgical roles. So good on Paprocki. Good on Paprocki for kind of setting the record straight. Eternal life is the most important thing, and that's that. So the next thing is the NAC, Pontifical North American College, cancels Latin Masses and TLM training. This was Rorati Cheli. I have several articles from Rorati Cheli in this EVTN episode, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I will say that just read one of the quotes here, why they canceled the traditional Latin Masses at the NAC and all TLM training. Now just recall that this is under the discretion of the USCCB. It is the most influential American seminary in the world. Some of the top seminarians, bishops send some of their top seminarians to this college, and it's known as a hotbed for LMNOP activity. And one of the quotes here, it says, because permission from one's diocesan bishop to celebrate according to the Missale Romanum 1962 is not sufficient for priests, faculty, or student priests to celebrate according to the Missale Romanum 1962 outside of their respective dioceses. There will no longer be extraordinary form training taking place, nor celebrations according to the Missale Romanum 1962. This includes the student-led ones, which were done generally on Saturday mornings in the past. So you're cutting out their Saturday morning Latin Masses because you just feel like it. Congratulations. Hopefully all those seminarians leave and join the SSPX. Okay, the traditionalist leaders met in France. So there was, on August 31st, the superiors of Ecclesiae Dei Institutes met in Courtelane, France. where the Institute of the Good Shepherd is based, to discuss the nonsense created by Traditionis Custodes. And they did release a statement like begging Pope Francis not to suppress their orders and all this stuff. I think they know the writing's on the wall. Something's going to come down from Rome pretty soon, and we'll see what happens to these orders. But it was pretty crazy, and I think that they're probably holding back a lot of their real opinions. And hopefully, this meeting wasn't just to draft a statement begging Pope Francis not to suppress the orders. Hopefully, it was to meet regarding game plan going forward. They're not going to tell us. There's a lot of stuff that they don't tell us, and that's fine. They run their own orders. I was talking to someone recently who was talking about like the difference, like if the FSSP and the SSPX would merge, if the FSSP kind of went the same way as the SSPX of Pope Francis, kind of knocks them off. And I think that it would be nice for the FSSP to maintain its independence, and I think this is the case because diversity, I say diversity of religious orders is a good thing. I think that's my opinion. I think that all these traditionalist orders with the several orders, I don't think they should merge. I think they should just work independently, and they should do their works according to their missions, and that's that. Okay. Oh, we're getting into more paganism and eco nonsense. No, I think Pope Francis declared this month, like I forget what it was called, like some kind of climate month or some kind of eco ecology nonsense crap. And there's eco nonsense from an Iowa bishop. There was a panel discussion that took place at August 24th at St. Patrick Church in Iowa City in the Diocese of Davenport. Bishop Thomas Zinkula of Davenport, who hosted the panel, noted that St. Patrick Parish, which relocated after a tornado destroyed its original church building, constructed a new church as a LEED certified building, leadership LED, leadership in energy and environmental design. Okay, so but what does the church look like? Does it have like a beautiful high altar? Is it inspiring to people that attend? Um, is the primary purpose the salvation of souls? Shouldn't that be more of a focus instead of hosting these environmentalist discussions? Um, what does the environment really even have to do with anything besides the message that Pope Francis says, and which is in compliance with the UN instructions? I don't know. So that's kind of disappointing. And these bishops, I believe that they are preaching this eco nonsense so that they can rise up the ranks, but that's just my personal opinion. Okay, Dublin. Oh, we talked about this on Wednesday. The Dublin, Ireland Archbishop publishes a 64-page letter on the climate. His name is Archbishop Dermott Farrell, and I'm just going to read a few quotes here, and you can kind of see where this is going. So he says one possible step for communities and parishes might be to consider signing the Healthy Planet, Healthy People petition. Endorsed by the Holy See, this petition aimed at the UN Climate Conference advocates for an agreement that limits warming to 1.5 degrees while protecting and supporting those most affected by the climate crisis. The cry of the earth and the cry of the poor go hand in hand. Okay, so what is he going to do about this? Another step might be to engage with the Laudato Si Prize, an initiative of the Archdiocese of Dublin to incentivize imaginative and bold responses in the face of the climate catastrophe and the vision for which is laid out in the pastoral. Okay, so there's no one that's attending your churches in Ireland, and you're going to come up with this environmentalist stuff. Maybe you'll get some of the secular pagans to attend your churches, but you're going to chase away the Catholics. But then there's some SSPX in this diocese, in this archdiocese, or in this country. Okay, and what does he say? Endorsed by the Holy See, aimed at the UN Climate Conference. That sort of makes it very clear where he's going with this. All right, Cardinal DiNardo. He was generally pretty friendly towards the Latin Mass. He seemed like one of the best cardinals in the United States. I mean, he doesn't have much competition. I mean, most of the cardinals are completely corrupt and compromised in the United States. But Cardinal DiNardo has added his name to list the bad cardinals. He announced September 1st that he has suppressed traditional Latin masses at 3 of the 4 diocesan parishes that have been offering it. Moreover, he has banned all other sacraments using the old books outside of the one personal parish in the archdiocese. They have an FSSP parish. This is from Rorate Caeli, and they pointed out that on May 28th, 2013, a fake lady bishop ordained another fake lady bishop of the United Methodist Church at the Co-Cathedral of the Sacred Heart in the city of Houston, which is co-equal to the Basilica Cathedral in the city of Galveston, and which is now the Archdiocese of Galveston-Houston. Yeah, so you can have Protestants do their heretical fake ordinations in the cathedral, but you can't have priests saying the Latin Mass. Pathetic. Cardinal DiNardo, you should resign. I pretty much call for most bishops to resign at this point. I mean, it would make the hierarchy, it would make the United States a much better place. Pope Francis, he had some interesting comments. He has a lot of interesting comments. He suggested that pronouncing the readings at Mass in a language that is not widely understood such as Latin would be like laughing at the Word of God. All right, so Pope Francis, maybe he is deliberately, maybe he's naive. Maybe he just doesn't understand the Catholic faith. Or maybe he's deliberately deceptive. There's one of two options in this case, because even someone with a basic understanding of the Latin Mass would know that the readings in Mass in Latin are an oblation for the living and the dead, and they're reading it in the sacred language of the Church, of the Roman Rite. And Pope Francis, the devil hates Latin. Why does Pope Francis hate it? That's a good question. Now, with as far as Pope Francis goes, he gave this interview, and Taylor Marshall talked about it. And one of the things that he pointed out, Pope Francis was asked, in your 8, soon to be 9 years as Pope, have you accomplished the things you want to accomplish? And he said, well, I don't really look at it that way. I have obedience to the ideas that we discussed prior to the conclave. And I was like, whoa, because remember, McCarrick was lobbying publicly for Pope Francis. There's obviously a discussion of the St. Gallen Mafia. And McCarrick said that something about an influential Italian gentleman. He said, can we get Bergoglio elected as Pope? And McCarrick said, I don't know. He said, I don't think so. And the influential Italian gentleman said, I think we can. And so it was potentially with the influence of this influential Italian gentleman, per McCarrick's own words, that Pope Francis was elected. So what were the ideals discussed before the conclave? Was it the St. Gallen Mafia's ideals? Because I know what they are. It's basically the German synodal path. That's what it is. So Pope Francis, what's his thoughts on that? But yeah, he's very, very misguided comments. It kind of shows where he stands in regards to either an understanding of the Catholic faith or a deliberate deception of the Catholic faith. So this is a funny one. Ave Maria Press released a book from Father Dan Horan. It's called A White Catholic Privilege. So I thought Ave Maria Press was one of the better publishers in the Catholic world, and I don't really follow that kind of stuff. I don't follow which publishers are releasing which book. I just kind of go with the flow, and for me, I'm not really into new books. A lot of people are, and they'll buy a lot of this stuff, like, oh, Father Altman's releasing a book or whatever, I'm going to buy it. Okay. But for me, I'm just kind of like, yeah, I mean, I haven't even read a lot of the traditional books from saints, so I want to start with some of those. So I don't really follow this stuff, but I thought Ave Maria Press had a good reputation. Apparently not, so definitely be careful with that. The Virus Church suffered a setback. So Slovakia reversed on Saturday its policy of only allowing jab people to attend public events during Francis' visit in September 12th through the 15th. As low registration numbers, 300,000 people were expected for the papal mass at the shrine of Saston, but only 30,000 people have registered so far. So I guess that'll do it for you. So setback for the virus church. Yeah, who knows what Pope Francis will even show. And the last thing I have on this list is that the Irish bishops want a more inclusive Bible. So the Douay Reims isn't good enough for any bishops because none of them, none of them really want the actual Catholic faith. None of them really want the Catholic Bible. The Irish bishops have signaled their intention to use the revised New Jerusalem Bible as the basis for the new lectionary for Mass. Secretary for the Association of Leaders of Missionaries and Religious of Ireland said, "It is important that we have a reliable and inclusive language text which is both attractive, accessible, user-friendly, and memorable if we are to model a more inclusive church that cares about equality." Well, guess what an inclusive church that cares about equality gets you? No one attending Mass, because this is Ireland, and no one attends Mass. Like, I think these Irish bishops must be clueless, because like let's try to not preach the Catholic faith and see how many people show up. I mean, it's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic, and they've just gone completely off the deep end. And they declared Mass non-essential. Guess what? People weren't even coming to Mass already. You're telling people to stay home, and now you're saying, oh, we're going to be more inclusive. Guess who you're going to get? You're not going to get Catholics attending Mass. You might get a few pagans, but you're not, and you might get a few atheists, but you're not going to find Catholics. At least they're not going to believe what you say. They're going to find the traditional Catholic faith. I know there's an Institute parish in Limerick, and maybe, I mean, they'll probably find a lot of people. A lot of people will probably find tradition in Ireland, and hopefully, rightfully so. They're going to find the traditional Catholic faith. They want the Catholic faith. If you're going to go to a Novus Ordo parish in Ireland, it's probably a very beautiful church, and apparently they have a lot of very beautiful churches, and it's really sad that these modernists have taken over, and they're going to end up being shut down and probably sold, just like we see in the Diocese of Pittsburgh. So let me get to the comments here, because I saw a few interesting ones I wanted to talk about. Okay, Michael says, I stopped attending the Novus Ordo church. I was going 2 Sundays ago, just couldn't stay. Yeah, pretty much a lot of us are in the same boat. Adrian said I left the Novus Ordo Mass 20 years ago. Hey, anyone's welcome to come to tradition. We find it at different points in our lives. Many of you have seen my Journey Home to the Latin Mass video, and you've seen other people's journey home, and we find our home at different points in time. And so I found my home in the Latin Mass just a few years ago. Some people have found it 20 years ago, like Adrian. And the whole idea is like not to give the impression that you're superior to someone just because you found it before them, because we're all at different points in our faith journey. Let's use the modernist language here. But seriously though, we have long roads to tradition. Many of us, we wind our way through like the lesser traveled path. I hate quoting Robert Frost's poem, but we all definitely carve our own paths whenever the road's right there, and we try to avoid the road as long as we can. But it's right there, and this is the journey home to the Catholic faith. It really is the traditional Catholic faith, whether that's at the Latin Mass or a Reverent Eastern Rite. And I've found a journey home to both places, actually, the Eastern Rite and the Latin Mass. And what's interesting, there are plenty of Byzantine clergy who are former Novus Ordo Catholics. What does that say? I mean, you got to find a Reverent Mass. Just do it. Pray the traditional Catholic prayers. Learn Latin. Learn the history, church history of the different rites. You can learn about the Eastern Byzantine Church. There's not a lot of resources for it, but you can find it. Learn the chants, learn the Gregorian chant if you can, because you know what, we're moving this forward. And I do want to point out Mass of what is it? Is it Mass of the Ages? Is that the documentary that came out? Part one. I think it was up to over 200,000 views. Let's get it to 1 million. Come on, share it, people. Um, this video is going to communicate the documentary. Mass of the Ages is going to communicate the traditional Catholic faith more effectively than I will. It's going to probably more than you will. I don't know. I don't mean to, take words out of your mouth. Maybe you're a great communicator of the traditional Catholic faith, but this is one way we can kind of spread the word about the traditional Catholic faith. Let's get it to 1 million. All right. That's all I got today. This crazy stuff going on. A lot of these articles just make me laugh. I mean, I kind of just sit here and crack up. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for liking. And thank you for watching this video. So that's it. We are the laity, and we will not be silent.